Good evening. I'd like to call to order the September 18th regular board meeting. Can I get a roll call, please?
President Wesleski?
Here.
Vice President Boyd?
Here.
He's here. McPherson?
Here.
Neal?
Here.
Karen? Sanchez? Here. Also present are Dr. Salemi, Ms. Delfiaco, Ms. Fuentes, Mr. Dress, Mr. Kayasa, and Ms. Panuska.
Excellent. Thank you. Can you join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. To get us started, I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda to remove the personnel report from the consent agenda and move it to action items with discussion after the closed session.
Moved.
Second.
Okay. We'll say addition to that.
Hey, can you come in at first and second again? I'm sorry.
Gina and Tashonda.
Thank you.
We vote on that, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So, any questions? That's just so we have a chance to talk about the personnel issue in closed session before we vote. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
President Wesleski?
Aye.
Vice President Boyd?
Aye.
McPherson? Aye. Neal?
Aye.
Ortiz, aye. Sanchez? Aye. 6 ayes, 0 nays, 1 absent.
Motion carries. Okay, and then we have the public hearing tonight. So I need a motion to call to order the public hearing presentation for the fiscal year 26 budget.
Moved.
Moved by Rose,
Second.
by Gina. Any questions or concerns to open hearing? Okay, roll call vote, please.
McPherson? Aye. Neal?
Aye.
Ortiz, aye. Sanchez? Aye. President Wesleski?
Aye.
Vice President Boyd?
Aye.
6 ayes, 0 nays, 1 absent.
Motion carries. The public hearing was called to order at 6:10. All right. So as Dennis gets ready for the presentation, just a reminder that we, as required by law, we did advertise the public hearing and the budget was available for inspection. So we will have the presentation tonight in the hearing, and then we will adjourn the public hearing and vote on the budget later in the agenda. Thank you, Dennis.
Hello, good evening. All right, so back in June, we had a discussion regarding our tentative budgets, as I had mentioned. Not a whole lot of significant changes from then to now, a lot of grant stuff being adjusted overall, about 5-7% change. But we're going to go through the final budget after working through some of our hires throughout the summer process and some of those grant finalizations. Purpose of the budget is to meet the requirements imposed by Illinois law, provide the district with expending and taxing authority, and satisfy a minimum level of financial information for local, state, and federal governments. Tentative budget and public notices. Ms. Wazlowski has mentioned, we have posted in the paper when and where the budget would be available for inspection, as well as the date of the public hearing and the time and location. So those have been met. Following the adoption of the budget, we will post this on the district website. And we're here today to conduct the hearing. Some of the filing requirements, again, followed with the regional office of education by October 31st of each year. I fulfill this requirement fairly quickly after the board approves this. I bring this over to the township treasurer, who will then collect all the budgets from all the township treasurer school districts and file them on our behalf with the regional office of education. I also send a copy to Illinois State Board of Education, as well as file it with the Cook County and post it. Some of the assumptions, roughly around 98% is what we do for historical property tax collections. In the past, due to COVID, we had bumped this number down significantly, but we are back to 97%. We always conservatively go a little bit less, but never quite to that 98%. 97% got us fairly close last year, and it's a solid number. Looks like our collections are back in line with that 98%. Payment in lieu of taxes. We've seen a significant increase in this number over the past, and the county has projected a slight, I think it was like percent increase over last year's. So we did use last year's number, the budget for this year. Interest, lunches, and tuition projected to increase slightly, a lot due to the interest income. Interest rates came in fairly good last year, and that's projected to continue on through this year. So I did move our interest income up slightly to kind of mirror what we did last year. However, once like caveat to that is with the delay in the property tax collections, that money's not sitting in the bank. So I did have to take that into account. It's not quite up to last year's numbers, but it's moved up closer to. Lunch revenue is based on 24-25 collections. We have seen over the past 5 to 7 years that number as far as lunch revenue going down, but then in kind, our revenue from the National School Lunch Program is going up. So it's one direction, the other. State sources, current revenue projected based on all funds. It's fairly consistent. There's some moving pieces in there. Transportation claim comes in fairly close year after year. As far as revenue goes, some other moving pieces, some of our therapeutic day school reimbursement. It's based on what actually happened the year previous, so I have to take that into account. I work closely with Lansing to determine that number. And then there's one other smaller piece, but the therapeutic day school being one of the larger, that combined with our transportation. Some of our expenditure assumptions, salaries based on staffing levels as well as projected increases. So those were somewhat known going into the budgetary process. We were still in the midst of negotiations, but once that number was finalized, I was able to update the budget just by dropping in the number, and then it would flow through all my spreadsheets and update everything very nicely. Employee benefits, that's based on projected increases, purchase services. I work very closely with departments to find out what kind of needs they have for the upcoming year, and based on their requesting those into the budget. Supplies and materials, fairly consistent. We know janitorial wise and the building departments work very closely together and report that to the principal. And then I meet typically in April, May to gather that information for the tentative budget. Very rarely does that information change from tentative to final budget. Again, we're talking less than a 5% change. That's happened. It did happen in a couple of accounts, but again, something solar material that show up to the board. It's like things they had. Oh, Dennis, we forgot to put this in there. Go ahead and add it. I'll make sure it gets notified. Some of the highlights, we do have balance and positive ending funds and all the funds. So that's very nice. 13.6 million at the end of the year, roughly equates to about 6.37 months that we can continue to operate without any kind of funding. So we have healthy fund balances. I believe the Illinois State Board of Education puts out there about 50% reserve is what you want to maintain. And coming in at 6.37, it's slightly over, so that's fantastic. Strategic transfers with the delay in Cook County property taxes. There were two funds that, doing cash flow projections, I felt had the potential to possibly run negative, and that's not something we want to have happen. Those two funds in particular have front-loaded expenditures. One being transportation. We pay all of our transportation leases in July, a significant expenditure, and then it kind of levies out throughout the course of the rest of the year. Front-loading of those, I was concerned that in the event that the taxes does not come in quickly enough, we may run negative, and I don't want that to happen. I'm not proposing the transfer as of now, but I'll continue to monitor it, and then we'll have the leeway in the event that we need it. We can do it at a future date and make that happen. The other one being operations and maintenance. There are some capital and some recurring costs that occur typically in July and August. A lot of inspections that have to happen, testing that has to happen throughout our systems, and some of the smaller projects that don't quite end up in the capital projects fund get done through the operation. So again, a front loading of expenditures. And we just want to make sure we do have enough fund balance to continue throughout the rest of the year. In the event that the Cook County property tax collections were not delayed, we would not be talking. Operating fund deficit test, we did do a test to find out if we did need a deficit reduction plan. Based on all testing, no deficit reduction plan is needed, and the reserves remain within prudent ranges of that 6 to 7 month across all. So getting into it. Now, I did put in here the fiscal 25. These are unaudited numbers. However, I do not anticipate any changes from unaudited to audited. Property tax collections increase from 15.7 to 16.3. Payment in lieu of taxes, again, a slight decrease from last year. However, they're projecting roughly a 2% increase. I just brought it closer to the actual year. Interest, lunches, and tuition going up by 124,000. State sources, again, fairly consistent, going down by 6,000. Federal sources down by 107 again. Sunset of the ESSER funding, some of the stronger connection grant that we incurred last year, we're not going to get that money again this year. So some of those fading away, resulting in some loss. And then other sources of fund, we did do that bond refunding last year. And the bond refunding is why we're seeing a significant decrease in other sources of funds, which the bond refunding did result in savings to the community, which is always a great thing when we could do something like that. That was not a taking cash out of for the bonding. It was simply just issuing new bonds to replace old bonds and saving taxpayers' dollars. Sources of revenue, roughly about 76.5% coming from real estate property taxes. We have a number that high, it does matter when property taxes are delayed. Roughly about 76%, roughly 76% of our revenue comes from property taxes. So when those monies do get delayed, it does matter. And cash flow is something I look at very closely. As in years past, we've done the transfer for the debt services. Both the auditor and the township treasurer has assured me that if the money comes in January, they're going to pay those bills no matter what. So we're not doing the extensive dance we've done in years past for debt services. With the assurance from both the auditor and township treasurer that everything will be fine in that fund. Corporate replacement taxes coming in at 1.5%, interest earnings at 2.75%. That number's up significantly from what we've seen 5 years ago. So it's very nice to see the interest income in there. I just caution because that can change quick. Other local sources coming in at 1.25, evidence-based funding coming in at 6.5, restricted aid from the state at 6.5, and federal aid at 5.25%. And that's the breakdown of our revenue.
That's a real quick question. For the real estate taxes, did that number go up slightly as far as the percentage is concerned?
It does go up, but it's based on his other revenue decreases, that's going to increase. So historically, before COVID, before we received all the ESSER funding, that number always was within that 75%.
Okay, that's what I was trying to understand.
The other funding decreases, we're seeing it rise back.
Okay. Thank you.
Great question. All right, so expenditures. We're going to go through it in 2 different ways. First one, we're going to look fund by fund, and then we're going to go through object by object. So this one starts off with just the educational fund, looking at 16.3 in fiscal 25 to 16.6 in fiscal 26. We can roughly assume a lot of that's going to be related to salaries and benefits. Operations and maintenance fund going down by $95,000 to 1.9. Debt service fund going down by 4.1. Again, that's that bond refunding that we did last year. We're not doing that again this year. So what we're seeing on the budget for this year is interest, bond interest, and principal. Transportation fund roughly going down by $88,000 to $1.5 million. We did a pretty sizable project out of the transportation fund of the bus garage last year. So we're not doing that project. And the taking away of that project plus the salaries and benefit increase for fiscal 26. That's why we're seeing an $88,000 reduction. Retirement fund went up by $31,000. Salaries go up. We're going to see that fund go up in kind. Capital projects going down by $214,000. Again, we're going to be scaling back on capital projects now that we set out a plan that we were going to save money to do capital projects. We've done that. Now we gotta go back into savings mode and build up our fund balances so that we can work capital projects done. Working cash fund, these are transfers expenditure wise. So last year we did a $250,000 transfer from working cash to capital projects. This year we did a $230,000 transfer from capital project, working cash to capital. And tort fund, this is going to be our workers' compensation, our general liability, and our lien. And it will affect a slight decrease from now. Looking at the same numbers, but this time not by fund, but just by salaries, benefits, and so on and so forth. We're seeing $363,000 increase in salaries. This is just cost of wage increases from last year to this year, plus any staffing changes that have occurred. Employee benefits going up by $79,000 again as people change insurance throughout the year. We have that open enrollment period. And then we have to factor those in, coupled with any people that might be leaving the district, the new people coming on board. We'll see some changes. And actually, when I tend to budget in that tentative budget, I always put the worst case. So I put family insurance for those things. And family insurance is very expensive. So when we see a reduction in the overall projected deficit from the tentative to this one, a very good portion of that reduction in deficit can be attributed to insurance. I'm factoring in thinking worst case, have the money in the budget if they do opt to choose the family, but great if they don't, I can take it back out and we have a savings. So purchase services, we're seeing a $475,000 reduction in purchase services. Supplies and materials, a $222,000 increase. Things are becoming more expensive as fortunately. And capital projects, again, a $585,000 reduction, just starting to see that scale back in capital projects. We're going to see it again next year. There are certain things that we'll continue to do, some proactive maintenance and stuff like that. We're all buildings up bricks. So I'd like to put some money towards masonry repairs. Mechanical last year was very intensive for us for our heating system. We're expected to see some additional charges again coming through this year. So we'll always see some expenses there. As our system ages, it does become more costly to maintain. Other objects, seeing the reduction there directly related to that bond issuance. Non-capitalized equipment gone down significantly. I believe last year there was a significant purchase of student devices, where this year, while there was a purchase of student devices, not the door. And those devices did fall within that $500 to $2,000 on an individual basis. If an item is over $2,000, we capitalize it. If it's under, depending on such, it'll either go into supplies or non-capital assets. And Chromebook cost has crept up over the years, where they're now falling into that non-capital asset.
Oh,
So expenditures by type, roughly 47.5% of our expenditures are related to salaries and benefits, which does make sense for a service industry providing educational service to the community. So a large portion of our costs should be salaries and benefits. Salaries being the first at 47.5, followed by employee benefits at 11.25, purchase services at 14.5, supplies and materials at 5.5, capital outlay at 4.25. Out of district tuition came in at 11.5, other expenses at 0.75, and bond and interest payments at roughly 5%.
question. Just curious, how much are the Chromebooks now? Do you know offhand?
Under 5, get over 4.
Okay.
So they're at that. Yeah. And it depends on the model. I do know that the ones that they get for faculty and staff are
It's a little bit more.
advanced, and those are going to come in roughly, I think, around 7 to 800.
Okay. Same.
Yes. They'll continue to balance. All right, so historical look at our fund balances. One thing I like to mention, and I think we're going to talk about this a little bit more and more, is fund balances during our presentation. So state law does not allow us to go over, I believe, 2 times our annual expenditures and fund balance, and ours is roughly right around 6.37, if memory serves, when we talked about that as far as our reserves go. So at the end of fiscal 26, we should be looking at roughly 6.37 months worth of operating expenditures, which is well below the state requirement of making sure that we're under 2 times our expenses. And we'll actually have a motion, I believe, in December, if memory serves, just kind of making sure that we memorialize and talk about this. It's really important when it comes to the tax levy that we talk about this, which is why I put it in December. But I still like everyone to just know where our fund balances are in relationship to our expenditures. Roughly over $14 million in fund balances at the end of fiscal 25, and we're projecting $22 million in expenditures, well below the state. It's still a healthy fund balance. That's, it did go down from last year, but again, we were saving for capital projects. We spent that money on capital projects. And now we're going to start to slowly ease out of capital projects and go back to savings. Questions?
And now is the time where we open it up for public comments, correct? So we have public comments and testimony for the fiscal year 2026 budget. So just a reminder for the audience that there is still public comments for the general comments of the meeting. This is just for the budget hearing, and board will have time to ask questions before we vote as well. So is there any public comments or testimony for the budget hearing?
Not for the budget.
You do a great job.
We
I mean,
agree.
and it's nice to know, right, like the TTO is, right, like that you're working with them and that's like essentially safety net, right? Sometimes or.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All of our actions.
Yeah.
Thank
you.
Awesome. Anything else? Then I need a motion for the Board of Education to adjourn the public hearing. Jared? Just not there yet. Sorry. Moved by Jared. Second by Deshonda. Yeah. Jared and then Deshonda. No words. All right, roll call vote to adjourn the meeting, or to adjourn the, not so. To adjourn the public hearing.
Neil.
So close.
Neil.
Aye.
Ortiz, aye. Pernich. Sanchez. Aye. President Wazlowski.
Aye.
Vice President Boyd.
Aye.
McPherson.
Aye.
6 ayes, 0 nays, 1 absent.
Motion carries. The public hearing is adjourned at 6:30.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you,
sir.
Dennis. All right. And now for just a few board recognitions that we'd like to give some shout outs for. Thank you to the entire staff for the planning of all of the recent building wide events like curriculum nights and grandparent night, and our upcoming events that are still in the works, like high school night and Hispanic Heritage Night. These big events we know are a lot of work in addition to your already heavy teaching and administrative roles. So we appreciate that extra work, and we know that it's important to our school communities and families to have that time to come together and to learn and to celebrate. So we appreciate everyone's efforts for that. We'd also like to give a shout out to our fantastic business office staff and our fellow board members from 5 years ago for their foresight in approving a lease to own deal for some of our buses. We're happy to report that we just made our last payment on those buses. So we are receiving the title soon, or have we already received them? They're in hand. So we are the proud owner of 5 buses. We do not we don't have to make any more payments on those. So with the rise in bus costs, it ended up being a deal worth making. So we're glad that they made that decision and that you led us in that direction. And then lastly, I think a little fun shout out and a good luck to all of the players playing in the district staff pickleball league. Kudos to everyone who organized the league and to those who signed up to play. It looks like a great way to have some fun, get some exercise, and build community. I would love if anyone wants to share where the pickleball is being played so we can all come watch this very intensive pickleball.
Steph and I went head to head yesterday. Yeah, we're gonna.
I would have if I was.
Well, we were competing with Kimberly But I think when people were shocked to see myself and Steph walking up with our, our,
Gear.
yeah, and so like, oh, we want to play. Okay, so we were at PS yesterday. So we had 3 nets across. I think it was like 12 or 14 of
We
us.
have 17.
17.
That day. We'll have more altogether. We're gonna be at 2 buildings, PS and IS.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. It's
That's awesome.
It's like a
Great way
tournament or
to build
something?
relationships.
Well, I'm competitive like that, so
Of
I,
course you are.
and it's singly, like my own, like, I would think so. But we got all new nets, we got all new, new balls. It benefits.
We're signing waivers.
Yeah.
What does the winner get? Just bragging rights?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
I told them what I said. Well, we should have said.
Oh, yeah.
I said, well, actually, the winner, Steph and I are going to sub in their classroom for a week, and they could go, like, they could end the year a week early. I said, I go, then we'll see how many
Like
people.
a day or two.
But I would just mess, because I was saying, I'd go watch how many we would have next week. There'd be like 60 people playing. You'd be like,
Let's
"They
not
got a
get
chance."
crazy.
No, I said, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It's like it's bragging
Kudos
rights.
to you guys. I think it's fun. It's a great way to build community. I think it's a great
We
idea.
had 3 bus drivers there.
Oh, it was.
Well, and like cross building, sometimes you
Yeah.
don't necessarily get to
And
like.
that's how Steph, how she breaks it up. It's like, it's just random. So I was with Cerny was
Your partner.
my partner.
Nice.
Yeah, and Steph was with a paraprofessional, and it was.
It's a great
I saw
idea.
Mr. Gibson was a Mentone. Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Phil Toomey,
Phil Toomey was
she
there.
blew me away.
Great. Great
Some
job,
folks
guys.
said they already had some skills up there.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I said, you said you didn't know how to play. She's like, I didn't say I didn't know how to play. I said, no, I don't know. I said never, I said, I thought you didn't play. She's like, I never told you I didn't play. I said, I don't know how to play, like keeping score wise.
Awesome.
They tricking you.
Well done. So next on the agenda, we have audience comments, and I believe we have a sheet. Okay, so just a reminder, we welcome comments from staff, parents, and constituents. A person who wishes to address the board should complete a request to address the Board of Education form, hand it to the board's recording secretary. When recognized by the board president, please limit your comments to 3 minutes. You're the only one, so you're fine.
My name is Gabrielle Halpin. I have 2 concerns. My first concern is about lunchroom. I know COVID has been over for a while. I know staffing is not the best, and I appreciate everything that is there in place. However, it's really hard when your 3rd grader comes home and is like, I can't play with my friend because they're in a different class, or we're not supposed to cross this line, or they're standing on each side of the line talking to each other because they can't. And I like the idea that they're opening to Friendship Friday. But again, I think it's really hard when this is the only structured time they have that they can't play together or they can't all be together at once. And I know it's loud, there's 100 kids, but in the same breath, like, things are very different than when we grew up. Things are very structured, and there really is no time for them to kind of be a little silly and to be playing with their peers. And so then when they are out in the hallway and they're distracting each other from the hallway just to wave hi or whatever, could this be eliminated by just maybe opening lunch a little bit more? So that's my first. And then my second one is about retesting scores. So last year, my son failed a test, reviewed, got a C, failed a test, reviewed, got a C, failed, got a D. So the skill set isn't always retaught. I think it's just reviewed. I don't know if it's retaught to where they actually learn the skills. And as the modules go on, the lessons get harder. So if that skill is not achieved, understood, you're going to continue to have those. And so now you have a child that consistently is going down, and then instead of wanting to do the work, puts less time and effort into the work. So I just don't really know how that all works. I know that I was told in the past, and I kind of looked through policies, like after 2 times, it's supposed to be completely retaught. How does that work? How do I follow up when those circumstances? And hopefully it won't happen again. It was a one-off, but I just want to know the proper procedure at the beginning of the year instead of waiting and then asking these questions.
to have that now, or do you want to get back to her?
Yeah,
I can send it back to you.
Okay.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Thank you.
Okay, so then we'll definitely reach out
Thank
and
you.
get, and someone will
you.
get you that information.
Appreciate
And, is it for a particular school? Do you want it for both schools? Are they the same for each school?
It's the same.
Okay, never mind. It's the same for each school.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay. Then I need a motion for the Board of Education to approve the consent agenda as amended. Moved by Gina. I can second it. And just as a reminder, we removed the personnel report from the consent agenda and moved it to the action items with discussion later. So right now on the consent agenda is the regular board meeting minutes of open session of August 14th. And then the second reading and adoption of policy 5-100 staff development program, 6-150 home and hospital instruction, 6-235 access to electronic networks, policy 7-70 attendance and truancy, and 7-190 student and behavior. Any other questions or concerns? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Sanchez.
Aye.
President Wazalowski.
Aye.
Vice President Boyd.
Aye.
McPherson.
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Ortiz, ayes. 6 ayes, 0 nays, 1 absent.
Motion carries. All right. Now for action items with discussion, we have bills, claims, and payroll authorization. So I need a motion to open discussion that the Board of Education approve the bills and claims in the amount of $671,969.51 and payroll in the amount of $908,934.57 into authorized payment. Moved by Kashanda
Second.
and second by Jarrett. Anything you want to highlight for us, Dennis?
Well, it's pretty standard in regards to bills and claims this month, but that cash flow issue is one of the issues I've been keeping an eye on for the last month. Probably my most concern. Foreseeable.
Any questions for Dennis?
I just had one quick question, and I apologize for not sending it earlier. Wanted to know about the LATSI, like the tuition that we pay outside of our district. Has that increased at all? Like, how much has it increased this year versus last year? Like, how many more students that are?
Overall, the Lansing tuition, I would say it's roughly about the same amount. However, there's also therapeutic day schools that go into that.
Okay,
I would say from last year to this year that the two of them together have actually slightly decreased.
oh, okay, okay,
However, who as drivers, these have actually increased their transportation just because I had a feeling that we're putting more routes to rent. Something we enjoy doing, but
Right.
to find replacement drivers. Still have to make sure those kids are happy.
And the only tricky thing is that as of right now, it's this, but like if we get a kid who transferred in who needs to be, so it goes both ways. Sometimes those families end up leaving, so it's like kind of this,
and that's,
it's something that we watch, you know.
Yeah.
One thing that we're definitely talking about is as we're getting new students, just that everyone is being updated to know
mhm,
that, you know, especially the
sorry.
finance department knowing like, hey, we just got this kid and we're gonna have to, you know, we may have to move them to one of the Lansing or a therapeutic. And then there's different, you know, funding. If you go to a therapeutics, you know, theoretically, you're supposed to get money back from the state. You know, how that comes in is, you know, you see him making his eyes like that. It's,
It's prorated, let me.
you know, you never know.
Prorated, is that what you
But
said?
Lansing is not. But sometimes the, you know, the qualifications to go into a therapeutic are different and they're more, it's more restrictive. So not every kid qualifies.
And when you say prorated, like prorated based on like what they think we should be paying?
A percentage of
or-
what we pay.
Yeah.
No, so if our claim says it's say 600,000, They might only give us 80% of them.
That's what I'm saying, a
But
percentage of
why?
that.
Like, for what particular reason? Do they give us a reason? Do we know? Ah,
Same reason they provide our transportation. Roughly about 80% of what we ship here.
It's just like on your taxes.
You're gonna prorate your taxes?
No, I'm saying,
Like,
I was just making an example, like to say, if you do like those home improvement things and like the windows and all that stuff, they only give you a percentage. You don't get it fully 100%.
right. Any other questions for bills and claims? All right, roll call vote, please.
President Wazalowski,
Aye.
Vice President Boyd,
Aye.
McPherson,
Aye.
Neal,
aye.
Ortiz, I, Sanchez.
Aye.
6 ayes, 0 nays, 1 absent.
Motion carries. Next, I need a motion to open the discussion for the Board of Education to approve the resolution adopting the fiscal year 2026 budget.
Moved.
Moved by Gina,
Second.
second by Rose. Right now, we're going to ask all of our questions about the budget adoption.
Look at it, look at it.
What did you do? Does anyone have any questions about the budget?
He just
Before
does
we-
such a good job.
I know, you really do. Lay it out so we can understand it. Yeah. Anything?
I think it'd be like a kid.
I know.
So you'd be sad that we don't have a
Um,
question.
I know.
He's disappointed.
I
in
know.
questions, I'm telling you.
We'll do better next time. All right, roll call vote, please.
Vice President Boyd,
Aye.
McPherson,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Ortiz, I, Sanchez. Aye. President Wazalowski,
Aye.
6 ayes, 0 nays, 1 absent.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Deb.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, I need a motion to open discussion for the Board of Education to approve the resolution authorizing the school treasurer to loan monies from the education fund to the operation and maintenance fund as presented. Moved by Rose,
Second.
moved by Gina. There's a memo there, but anything you want to or actually, there's not a memo, sorry, the resolution is there. Anything you want to walk us through?
So I think 600,000, and I think it's more than what we are gonna need, but I'd rather do this one time as opposed to come back and say, whoops. So trying to get us through December, by December, I'm anticipating to start seeing. As soon as those bills go up, we're gonna go out, yeah, overnight, by the end of October, the escrows are.
Okay.
So I think this is a short-term interfund loan. Don't have to go out and do tax anticipation notes and pay interest on that. We're actually utilizing those reserve balances to have a look here. It's great that we're in the financial shape that we're in, that we're able to do that. Once the taxes are received, we'll repay them.
Well, we pay ourselves. Yep.
This resolution authorizes me to make the transfer as well as the township treasurer to make it. And the township treasurer will pay it.
Oh, great. Okay.
So one account.
Excellent. All right, any other questions? Okay, roll call vote, please.
McPherson. Aye. Neal.
Aye.
Ortiz, I, Sanchez.
Aye.
Neal Wazalowski,
Aye.
Vice President Boyd,
Aye.
6 ayes, 0 nays, 1 absent.
Motion carries. All right, now these fun ones. I feel like I'm always going to try to take notes on these policies, and I never do.
We're trying to make them as painless as possible.
I know you do such a great job. I really.
So just so you guys know, getting through these that gets us through all the policy updates, all like the major policy updates from I think it was the June press release, so press will have another release in October, so I'll look at those and see the priority for those, possibly starting with it.
Okay.
You'll get
We'll get a reprieve.
Right, a little break. So these are discussion items with no action. But it is a discussion and the first reading of the policy. So the first one we'll tackle is 7-200. Laura gave us a little note there that some seemingly major changes, but all related to the rights of students, providing student services, details how to treat allegations of sexual violence. And thank you for saying no optional footnotes, because I always look for those. So on my reading, I was just defaulting to accepting press. Did anyone have anything of concern?
No.
Oh, out of school suspension. Okay, got it. Are we okay going with press on that one?
Yes.
The next we have 7-210. Sorry, Laura, was that okay? You got it. 7-210. So for this one, some formatting changes, information about a student support person representative, but we do have some options. And the notes say that option 1 is considered best practice.
Yeah, so, line items F through H under number 1.
Okay,
So where it says list the student's prior suspensions, state that the school code allows blah, blah, blah. And then, ask the student's parents, guardians, or attorney to inform the superintendent. Those are optional, but they are considered best practice according.
So these options weren't available in prior.
Right, they're not listed in the prior.
so just to make sure I'm in the right spot. So number 1, F, G, and H.
Yes.
And we did not have them listed in our current one.
Nope.
So we had an F, A, B, C, D, E, F. So what did we?
Sometimes, I don't know if you can see, like, we see that briefly describe what will happen during the hearing. That's actually listed twice. Sometimes in board docs, when I'm doing the comparison, that's why sometimes you'll see like those duplicates or those errors, like,
Gotcha.
yeah, it's a formatting issue
Okay.
within board docs essentially.
Okay. And then, yes, I guess you're right. And where do you see that it's the best practice? It's in the footnote?
Yeah. No. Or, yep.
I see it. Items F through H are optional, but best practice inclusions. Does anyone have any concerns with including? Do you want to take them line by line? So F, which is list the student's prior suspension or suspensions.
I have a question about that. So this will be in any given school year? Like.
That's a great point.
Whether it's in the school year, or is it a prior, you know what I'm saying? I just wanted to ask that question.
I mean, the way I read prior, I would think would be anytime.
Yeah, because when you go into expulsion, they're gonna look at the whole history. So it could be from,
Like prior suspensions. If we wanted to limit it, I think we would need to say prior suspension for the current school year.
I was just only thinking about that, because sometimes, I'm not saying, I don't know, we haven't had a lot of explosions here, right? But thinking about maybe somebody has a really bad year, 1 year, then the next year, it's a good, you know what I'm saying? That I just was wondering if like we wipe the slate clean year after year.
well,
or
you
they
do,
carry that
usually you
along.
do, right? But for what you're asking, that I understand where you're.
I guess to tag team on that, do we know about a student's prior suspensions if they don't occur at our school? Would this just be listing the prior suspension
Yeah,
in our
there is, yeah,
district?
there is. Well, I can tell you, so what happens when you even think about going to expulsion, the first conversation you have with the lawyers is, what are their priors? Because you usually don't want to go to expulsion unless it's something major. And if you don't have a track record on it either, and if you just say you're doing for behavior stuff, like, I can't even go to expulsion without a history of all, things. Unless, like I said, if a child had a weapon or massive amounts of drug, then it's a different story. They'll still ask about the priors, but if you're going for strictly like behavior stuff, it would have to be a series. And it's usually about that. I think it's usually that year. Like, I don't know how, I can't remember when I've done them, like that we've gone back multiple years, although they may ask for that.
And
So
this
one
is,
of my questions, with that is, especially like going from building to building, or if there's if, in kindergarten, everything's good,
Yeah.
you get to, IS, they have a difficult time,
Yeah.
or let's reverse it. They have a difficult time at PS and then are good at IS, and then something comes up at the middle school. Are we going all the way back to?
and this is actually saying, so this is before the student may be before the student may be expelled, the student and his or her parent/guardian shall be provided a written request to appear at a hearing, and the request should be sent, and then the request shall list. So this is basically just saying what we're required to list in the letter.
Okay.
So I guess like for F, I mean, so the priors might come up during the expulsion hearing, but this is just saying in the letter, do we want to list the prior suspension? Am I understanding that correctly?
I have a
If
little
it's
concern
something,
about that, but
yeah, if it's something that's going to be considered, then I definitely think it should be in the letter.
And it usually relates to the situation, like, so if a kid got a detention for something or suspended for, and then it wasn't related to the expulsion, it's usually not so much included, but usually it aligns to whatever.
From my perspective, being the behavior person in my district, I think it's an important part of the narrative, because if this student needs some kind of support that would help them, now you don't have that as part of the narrative, and it doesn't show that they need the support as much. That makes sense? Oh, what have they struggled with in the past? What can we support them with in the present, right? So,
And if you're going, like I said, if you're going to expulsion, it is a major thing, and so you're looking to, you need to have evidence to justify that move. And so evidence would be priors that justify that do it. Otherwise, you're going to say you're just picking on my child, or there's a one-off, and now where's the progressive discipline? You're going right to expulsion when you never even suspended.
And I guess in the era of like full transparency, like if this is the letter going to the parent, we're being transparent of this is information we have that we're sharing.
Right.
or if a student does something that is extreme, and then you don't have the history to back that up, like why was the student not,
Right.
were there any other incidents, and then, we didn't mention it.
Right.
It wasn't a narrative. There's several reasons for it.
Okay, so are we okay leaving it as stated, list the students' prior suspensions? Any caveats to that? Go ahead.
Yeah, I've said what the concern is, but
What is up? Say it again.
so, yeah, no, I'm just a bit, if it's something that will be considered, I definitely think it should be in the letter to the parent. So I'm going a little outside that specific request or that addition, wondering, how we use that information, and
it's punitive.
if it's not going to be used, then I wouldn't put it in the letter because it might cause additional concern unnecessarily.
So again, I know we don't have very many expulsion hearings,
Right.
but when we do, if we do, is the anticipation that we would look at the full history of the student? Yes.
Yes,
So then I think it
Yes.
probably needs to be in it.
this would be the last, you don't take it lightly because you're talking about getting them out of school. Like, even if they live in town, like there is no other place they could go to at a public school. They live in Westchester.
Right.
So you're taking that away. And so it's and then there's always the alternative, they could always do it, but they have to do that, like, set it up.
Mhm.
And so even in lieu of that, you do like a removal, or then you set it up like they go to safe school, which is in lieu of expulsion. So to get to that point, it would have to be pretty serious, and you would definitely want all your
And we want to be
information. You want to be transparent.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we'll include F. And then G is to state the school code allows that the school board to expel a student for a definite period of time, not to exceed 2 calendar years, as determined on a case-by-case basis. So that just stating the school code. So does that one feel okay to include?
Yes.
And then H, ask that the student or parents / guardians inform the superintendent or board attorney if the student will appear with a representative and or support person, and if so, provide the name and contact information for representatives and or support person.
There's a typo in there.
Okay.
It's the second line, will appear with a B.
Oh, yeah, B. I see it. I'll update it for a second. Thank you.
Thank you. I was reading press. I'm like, I don't see a typo, but I was reading from the wrong page. And how do we feel about that one? And we don't think it's an undue burden on the family to tell us in advance. Okay. Okay, those are the only optional ones, right?
You know what? I wonder if we should put a time period on that, because, in theory, notifying the school every 15 minutes before so if we want to say 48 hours or 24 hours, I think that might be important.
Do we have that in the resident? I'm thinking of the residency
Yeah,
hearings.
that's
Do we
it's
have a time?
definitely in the letter. It'll be like the Friday before.
The Friday before the
Yeah,
hearing?
we don't say the Friday. We don't
Oh,
specifically
oh.
say the Friday before, but we time it. So if the hearing's on Wednesday, you need to let us know by Friday before, whatever that date happens to be.
2 business days before the hearing? Or what were you thinking, 24 hours before
No,
the hearing?
I think I
What
like
do you
that,
think?
at least 2 business days or something like that, so that if we need to
Have
have our attorney there, we can be prepared.
right. Would that be workable?
Yep.
At least 2 business days?
Yep.
Trying to think how I want to write my own. Sorry.
Yeah. Is that okay with you guys?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's good, because you're right.
2 business days prior to the meeting.
Yes. Because that would give you enough time to get hopefully a lawyer there. Yeah.
Yep.
Good one. Anything else for that one? All right. Close all of these tabs I have open. I don't confuse myself. And then next is policy 7-270. So notes on here is adds info about students being able to carry their own diabetic supplies. This is the current practice of our district, although some students and families still prefer to have the items in the health office. You did not add the info from press about undesignated oxygen tanks, since we have left that out in the past. So I guess we can talk about that. Do we have an undesignated oxygen tank? Okay.
No, she just.
Are we required to? Okay.
Questions on the entire thing.
It is cold
So
in
if you
here.
did, I just raised that question. Not too many changes.
No,
I didn't see it.
no. And it says in of the diabetes, it should be, may also possess. So it doesn't require them to carry it, but they can do
And I
it if they
double checked
want.
with our health officers that that's what they were doing anyway.
Good to know. Thank you, Mom.
Okay. That one looks pretty standard? Yeah. All right. Then, policy 7-310. These look like more style grammar changes, further defines publications, and adds info about bullying and cyberbullying. What would be an example of like a non-school sponsored publication?
Where are you,
Like
are you referencing something in?
just in general, like the
I think that would be like we get those flyers from like the park district.
right. That's what I was assuming. Like the flyers that they want us to.
And we always have them all put on their flyer. That's
What event? Yeah. Okay. So whether we're distributing them by paper or electronically, this is applying to all of that. Is there any updates that you guys want to make with that? With anything that's been happening with that? Or we're good with this? Okay, then press on this one. Okay. Oops, I went too far. 7-340. So we have an optional area to look at, which is the yellowish green. You're right, it is like the yellowish green.
Well, because it's green already, because it's added from press, and then
Okay.
I have to highlight over it, which is why it's yellowish.
So then Laura's notes here is to just consider maybe not including it since it doesn't need to be updated as often and we didn't include it before. I guess let's take a look at that. Why does press say it's optional?
I think because it already says except as provided in state or federal law.
Okay.
That's fine. Because that's
Oh, I
1
gotcha.
through 4 is the summary of state and federal law.
You're right.
So if something changes tomorrow, we don't have to worry about going.
Right, right.
Because we're going to be following those state and federal.
Okay, I see what you mean. So, and it said rather than listing the exceptions in the policy, a school board may just choose to end the sentence after the provision except as provided in state, and then you're not pigeonholing yourself into specifics. I think that's probably a good advice. Is that okay with you guys?
Yep.
Okay, so we'll agree with your advice on that one, Laura. And then the other one, is there an optional item to add info about biometric data collection? We do not because, we do not include it because we did not collect it and do not plan to, according to our technology department.
Yep.
So are we okay with following that lead and not including that optional biometrics?
Yep.
All right. Got what you need on that one? All right. Correspondence, we didn't have any official correspondence, but it looks like we got some handbooks that our legal team.
You should have one more policy.
Oh,
Sorry.
good.
I'm
Did I
ready.
skip one?
Right.
Oh, I
Yeah.
got excited.
Sorry, I know.
Sorry.
I know, sorry.
Totally skipped
in my
head. I thought it was me.
You know what?
The
Me
meeting
too.
is
I'm like-
over. My name is
I
Steve.
feel like when I get off timing when you highlight it in yellow, like I think that's the one I'm on, and so I'm like, okay, we did that one, and
Yeah.
so then I move forward. Sorry.
Sorry.
Policy 8-30. You're just too on the ball for
Sorry.
me, Laura. All right, this one further defines school property, adds info about not having consumed alcohol, cannabis, etc. And then it looks like there is an optional provision about posting when the facility is available for use, but we have not included that in the past. Is that just, so that we're not sort of nailing ourselves to a particular time?
Yeah, I think I have to pull up the press, but like, for example, you might say, the building is available for rent on weekends. Like, you don't want to get stuck in there.
Yeah.
The building is not, you know,
Right.
if you just leave it out. Yeah. Wiggle room.
More flexible.
Right. I'm sorry, Laura, what was that footnote?
That is
Where was that one?
about,
Okay,
I have to open up press, and figure out which.
I know I have to
It
like
was.
toggle back and forth. I can find it.
Footnote 3.
Okay.
And then there's 2 options. The
So
following
it's-
optional provisions can be modified according to the local conditions.
Gotcha. So the sentence is persons on school property without permission will be directed to leave and may be subject to criminal persecution. And then there is an option where we can say that the superintendent may post certain facilities for community use. And so it sounds like the recommendation is that we not include those options because we already have a school use policy.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay.
I have questions about the convicted child sex offender.
Which section is that?
Towards the
Page
bottom,
2.
Page 2. That's what, I didn't even realize, should there ever be a reason why they are allowed to be on school property?
State law prohibits a child sex offender from being present on school property within 500 feet of school property when a person under the age of 18 are present. So unless the offender is a parent or guardian of the school attending the school and has notified the building principal of his or her presence.
Guess we already had it in there before, huh?
Even as a parent?
What?
Isn't that usually some kind of rule that has to be followed even if you were a parent?
Well, I think this
They
is,
have, they say have to be escorted by the superintendent, but I'm wondering in the day of technology that we have now, that we could do that virtual. They shouldn't be allowed to be on campus at all, but I don't know if that is our,
That's what, yeah,
You know?
I didn't even think about virtual meetings, yeah.
yeah. Because when we were in COVID, we had virtual meetings
I think it
anyway.
allows them very, very limited, like parent-teacher conferences or something. If they're,
so it says they cannot be on school property if there's students here unless the offender is attending the school and has notified the building principal for the purposes, and there's 1, 2, 3.
and if it's like necessary for a student's education.
So attending a conference at the school with school personnel to discuss the progress, attending to review evaluation or placement of special education, and attending conferences to discuss other student issues concerning his or her child. retention or promotion. So I guess the question is, can we
And that be
say they
done
can't
virtually.
come?
Exactly,
Well, the only other thing with that though is what if they don't have technology?
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, because you gotta be careful what violation.
Yeah,
Especially when it's like number 2 is the placement of special education services, and I don't know that you can exclude.
Well, they're supposed to notify you, right? So
Yeah,
like
and
they
that-
notify you, then you gotta make, you gotta make
Accommodation.
accommodations and
This is
arrangements,
really the
figure
only
out.
addition is notifying the principal.
And I could tell you if they
No,
notified
no, I
us.
know this was
My
on there,
first
and
call
I
would
just
be
realized,
for
I mean,
lawyers
it
to
just
figure
kind of
out.
stood out.
Right.
yeah.
Well, yeah, like in prior years, all these other years, we didn't really have virtual conferences, so we
Yeah.
didn't really think that there'd be an alternative.
Right.
Should we ask for, like the other policy, a reasonable time of notification?
Oh,
Like within a
shoot.
certain, like
Yeah,
some time.
so
Are we
within
allowed- is this
24
a
hours
law
or as
one that-
reasonably-
Are we allowed to futz with it? You know, let's see.
Get this.
I don't, it's under footnote 17, Dana.
Okay.
I don't see anything optional or
Right.
anything that says yes.
So it's the Illinois, what's called the definition of a sex offender.
Yeah, it doesn't say anything, but it does. Of a school official, so. I guess my other concern is.
The other people that are in school, when they're not aware that they are
That's
a
the
sex
thing,
offender.
yeah.
Right.
Even if it's for, parent-teacher conference and the teacher says, we need to meet about your child and not necessarily, and not knowing, and, whether or not the child sex offender complies with their own requirements,
Right.
I would feel a bit more comfortable if we had some type of time frame in there.
So, and it does look like, if I'm reading this right, so it's like they have to do 1 and 2, right? So the offender has to have notified the building principal, and then 2 also has permission to be present from the board superintendent or superintendent.
Did I miss that?
It's, am I reading those,
Yeah.
is that either or buboth? Like I'm reading that as
Or,
they have
yeah,
to
it
do
looks
1
like
and
or.
2?
Or superintendent.
Or,
Yeah.
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 So you're right, then we probably do need to have some sort of notification, like that timeline.
Yeah.
I mean, and so not to not say restrict access, but I think we need to have a caveat in there too. So, within 24 hours or as soon as reasonably possible or something like that. Because what if the teacher reaches out that morning and they say, can you meet after school? So that wouldn't be a 24-hour period. But I don't know exactly how we would say that. And, if we say as soon as reasonably possible, they could say, I'm in the parking lot and I'm planning to come in.
Right. Right.
That would, if you so the teacher would most likely know something, correct? I mean, I guess
Yeah.
not unless we had a reason to.
Yeah.
Yeah, look it up. I don't know that you.
When
So,
you're
yeah,
not
how
looking
would
up
we-
every parent, right?
So how would you know that? And are they, I guess that would be something that we would need to know.
General,
Are they,
coming into our school?
are they required to report when they register their kids at the school?
Oh, I don't know
You have
that.
to report, period, but not to.
I know you have to report in general, but how do we
To
even
the-
know
yeah.
the person is who they
So
is?
many feet, or like.
Well, it looks like
I
it's
know
500
it's-
feet.
Right,
It
Yeah.
just really just stuck
I
out.
mean,
I'm
probably
like, oh,
tell 'em.
Lord.
And I think there's a.
Well, I think they check it when they check bus routes, but they're not probably
They
checking
do.
every
They
single
do.
person, yeah. So what is your recommendation on this one? We could also table it and think about it
Some
and bring it
legal-
back.
Get some legal
I would say
counsel on it.
table and get some legal counsel on how to treat that. What is the requirements now? Like, we don't know if any of our.
Yeah.
But there's not
parents now-
schools.
They're supposed to tell, yeah, like.
They're
Yeah,
supposed
so
to.
they-
It's just, it's the requirement is on them, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
their, part of their, I mean, their mess, yes.
But that would be my concern, because if we don't know that, and they're violating their own, you know.
Now, I know
requirements.
that, we do run, right? For transportation, like as far as
Yeah.
bus,
Oh,
but we
yeah,
are
absolutely.
always paying attention to the
Oh, yeah.
sex offenders in the
Absolutely.
community.
Right.
So it might come up
Yeah.
that we actually know about, oh my gosh, this is a house, but this is actually a parent so that we know.
Yeah.
And so then that,
Yeah, that might be the answer.
so otherwise you hope that, that it is total violation for them not to say something.
Yeah,
Right, no, like that's not uncommon.
Here,
right.
this is
Very
policy.
uncommon.
Yeah, we'll reach out, and we'll get
So
back.
this one, will in specific things that we'd like them to ask legal, just like, are we allowed to put any sort of restrictions on this? Like, can we ask for notification? What else
Some
would we,
timeframe, yeah.
Yeah.
anything else that we want them to ask legal on this one? Might as well just ask them if we could say virtual will be first choice, something like that. Like, can we
You can put that in
offer
as an option.
a
Yeah.
virtual conference?
They may say no, but like you said, you
Yeah.
might be violating there.
Is that, I think
Right.
it's, tell us, like,
Oh,
student
yeah.
registered.
You got it?
Yeah.
All right.
So what I could do with that one is, you can put it, so normal, the rest of them will be on the consent agenda for the next meeting. What I could do is put that as an action item with discussion,
Okay.
so that if we, I can put some options in, and so we can actually take action on it and approve it at the next month, as you guys are okay with whatever the lawyers.
Okay. Perfect.
Perfect. Yep.
Thank you. Now correspondence. So nothing official, but we have the handbooks from HLER. So those are always some nice fun. I have pulled them out and looked at it a few times, so it is kind of handy to have. So thank you to HLER for giving us these handbooks. Board President's report, I actually have a couple things tonight. So one is just a reminder to the staff and community that our Person of the Year nominations will be available next week and due October 24th. So these are a great way to recognize staff members who have had positive impact on our schools. Actually, it doesn't have to be only a staff member, it can be a community member too. So just to recognize people who have had positive impact on our schools. While we usually only have one winner, we do recognize all the nominees. So, I mean, it is important to, it's great to be nominated. So please encourage everyone to submit some nominations. And then for two, I'd like to officially appoint myself and Cynthia to be the two board representatives on our strategic planning task force. So we both are able to be there for the 2 October meetings and said we would commit to that. We also want to make sure we still are hearing from as many stakeholders as possible, including board members, families, students, staff. So the stakeholder interviews are going to be held later this month. I'm sure you'll
24th,
tell us about it. And then in October. So I think the 24th is during the day, but the October one is going to be in the evening. So we can, make sure that we get as many voices as possible. That's what I got. Legislative report. I know Cynthia was not able to be here. She did not get one submitted. IASB West Cook.
Dinner coming up on the 30th. And is anyone going?
And you. Say the three of us.
Yeah, all right. Of us. And the teacher of the year, Illinois teacher of the year is the guest, right?
Yes. That's the
Nice.
speaker.
Perfect. So we will report back. Anything for board representative reports? I think if Cynthia were here, she would probably report, I'm going to speak for her, that we had the school For community relations, we had the school back to school picnic, and our table was definitely active and hopping. And it was nice to see some kids. Some kids really liked our booth and really spent a lot of time at our booth and loved the stickers, loved every free giveaway we had. So I think that was always a good thing. So thank you to Cynthia and Laura for organizing that, and for those of you who could attend. FOIA requests, we had 2 for August. So thank you, Laura. And superintendent's report.
Hey, good evening. So as Dana mentioned, about the strategic plan, and just, if you guys came in, I thought tonight was an awesome turnout. We're trying to support, Proviso and their work, and this was the first session that they actually had in the theater district, so I didn't know what the turnout would be, and I said Parent Square works because people came.
Yeah.
And this is something that is a really important topic, as many of you sitting here have sent your kids through, but you've also been in this town for a while, so you know the narrative that's out there, and so the stress that we've been giving or sharing with Krish with 209 is exactly what I was saying tonight. Like, it's real. Like, there are families, and it does kill me every time I see families from our town that are amazing families that have brought their kids all the way up. They get to 8th grade and they leave, and it's usually not just one kid. It's usually like 2 or 3 kids that are leaving our district. That does have an
Or they'll
impact.
leave before 8th grade.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
That has an impact on a district over time, so if they can get that right, it's important. And I said consistency matters. So our consistency is a strategic plan, which we had in place. And like, we could talk about, COVID and all that, and that did kind of derail us. So the goals are solid. So we had our second implementation team meeting on Monday, the 15th, and that's made up of my administrators. We looked at the goals. We looked at a lot of data. And we are really thinking about, as the future goes, making our priorities off those goals. But the key thing for us is KPI, which is key performance indicators. That's really being, I think that we have informed people of the data, but I think it's just like something that we are just like a dashboard. We're just constantly referring to, making sure that we are doing everything we say we want to do. And if we don't hit it, then we are just continuing to try, but we're making it like that is our, that's our star, right? That's our Northern Star. That's what we're going for. Like, whatever we set the target at, even if we don't hit it right away, like the fact that we're continually improving towards it, that's awesome. And it could be, and I think it's an opportunity for us too to like kind of, toot our own horn about what we're doing well, especially because one of our goals is around budget. Like, let's take some credit in the fund balances. Let's take some credit in some of the things we're doing in the community, in our messaging. Like, we've got to do that. So that could be a KPI. So we're figuring that out. So then, as Dana said, on October 10th and October 23rd, the task force, which is now going to be made up of 2 board members, the admin team, and then several different staff members, right? So that they're making up those teams right now.
Students too?
So the students, yes, will be from the middle school, yes. Then there is going to be, yes, from middle school.
Was that meeting y'all had earlier before?
That was the strategic plan for Proviso.
Gotcha.
They wanted input for their own plan from our parents. So then on September 24th, the stakeholder interviews are going to take place. So after talking with Dana, made a really great point about making sure we are giving parents opportunity, because not everyone could be there during the day. If you guys wanted to come on the 24th and you had time, I will give you the times, because they're going to be in a middle school. They're going to be first meet with the kids at like 10:30. They're going to interview them for about an hour. Then they'll meet with the teachers here at 12:30 to 1:30. And then they'll be at IS and PS. They'll break up and go IS to PS from 2 to 3. So if either the 12:30 to 1:30 here, and they'll send us an email, or 1 to 2 or 2 to 3 at PSR, you could jump in, because they're going to interview staff. If you can't, then in October, I will have a night. It might be a Monday night, Tuesday, whatever. It'll be like probably from 4 to 6, and they'll come, and as many people as we have. If you have 20 people, they'll break it up and do like focus groups and give them different prompts to get the feedback. And then, and then we will continue to roll out. So probably by mid-year, it's time in December, January, we'll be able to have our updated strategic plan, and then that will go in effect starting in next year, and that will carry us for 5 years. So I'm excited about the work with West 40. Just really important. I'm just a lot of learnings from the last plan of where we could go, and I think there's tons of opportunity.
That's a good question.
Yeah,
Did you say that the stakeholder interviews are going to be including students?
yeah,
So is students from here?
yeah.
And is that like, how are those students being chosen? Are we getting a represent?
So we're trying to go 6th, 7th, 8th.
Okay.
Yes, and not just student council kids. Like, so it's a mix of kids. So I think.
A good mix of females and males.
And it's working with Ms. Fuentes and Mr. Lieben, and I know that they're looking at different kind of kids that are, whether kids that have interest, their kids are, you could see kind of natural leaders, or kids who just are interested in just asking.
Right.
So
Right.
we'll work through that, and just because they come on a 24th doesn't mean like if we have more or we want to go to other buildings, we could, we could be flexible, and they're flexible. Like that's kind of cool working with them. The other
I have
thing,
one quick question,
yeah.
too. I think it might be another important consideration to select students who've been in the district for
Yeah.
a period of time, so that we can
Yeah.
get feedback, I guess.
Yep.
Right,
Cool.
right. Because
Yep.
if they're just
Just
been
being
here
this
from middle
year.
school,
Yep.
they don't have that experience.
And if you heard my phone ring, Timberly is in effect. I know you guys don't have
Yeah.
that now, right? So, but Camp Timberly this week, it's been hot, but it's
Oh, wow.
nice. They come back tomorrow. They're excited. Greg's giving updates. That's cool. We are, finally got some preliminary IAR data, but hopefully by October, we'll have our school designations. It's looking, it's looking positive. The last thing I want to say, and I'll mention this in my October newsletter, just because it's important. I don't want anyone to think it doesn't fall on us here, but the news, whether we just had something happen in Berwyn the other day, like the news has been heavy lately.
Oh, my God.
And there is like this uncertainty, whatever, without even having to talk about what, because if I had to address every single thing that's happening in the news, you'd see my parents' scores, you'd hate me.
Yeah.
I just, if we cannot think that our kids, even if they don't say anything, they absolutely notice what's happening. They hear us, they hear us meaning parents, they see the news, they're seeing any silly social media thing, and it's playing, with their head. So I just want to let everybody know that at school, we're committed to giving them a safe and support place to learn, feel cared for, know they belong. There are opportunities, in each building, in here, Ms. Fuentes, the social workers, Mr. Lieben, the teachers, like we are listening and looking, and, kids ask questions, and like, so how much you go into it, like how, maybe there's teachable moments, but other things, if you've noticed that they're hurting, we want to make sure, they're there. So I just want people to know. And then at home, like even a simple check-in, just seeing, if they've heard or how they're feeling, it can make a big difference. And end of the day, together we can help build that, when they need this resilience and they need some hope, like we've got to give them hope, right? So even my own college child, sophomore, is texting me, asking me if I could, text my in-laws because he's worried that, something's going to happen. I'm like, I don't like you focus on what you got to focus on. But it impacts everyone. And so I just want to know that, I may not have to send out a message every week. Some districts, they do like, oh, we want to talk about, it's like, I think sometimes too, I don't want to bring more attention to it. Like, just know that we care about your kids, and we're here to do a job. And I think if anything, from what I heard, I was very happy to see that those families that came, they may not come to board meetings, but they were talking about how happy they are at IAS, how happy they are at MS, how happy they're here. But the reality is of where they're going, and I think that was They weren't saying they were not happy here, which made me feel really awesome. And all of us.
Meeting?
Yeah,
Were you in
and
the
so,
meeting, Dana?
Yeah, for a little bit, I came in late.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
But Eugenia was here for,
I just was curious, and it's ironic that you
Yeah.
all had that. I had an opportunity to meet with Superintendent Mohip, probably like a week or so before school started.
yeah,
And that was one of the things that we kind of talked about. We talked about a lot of things, but that was one of the things. And I told him about our
yeah,
Westchester residents. And I said, one of the key factors for most of them are, of course, the education is very important. I said, but where you lose them, parents. I said, parents are not wanting to send their kids that are very athletic forward through our schools because our athletics and its program is, you already know. And so that was something that he, and of course, that's not something that he's going to be able to fix overnight, but just to know that if that was slightly better, competitive, and more organized and structured, and they had put more funding into those different
yeah.
facilities.
Right. And so that was the thing. You're right, Stephanie. It is athletic. It's the whole gamut. But like I was trying to stress to them the reason why, once again, it's like about tuning our own horn. When you have a consistent board, when you have people that are committed, when you have staff, everything that we talked about like when you talked about negotiations, to getting people here to stay here, you look at our retention rates, you look at our administrators, the same people, you see the same faces, that makes a difference. And as long as we're all holding ourselves and keep pushing, you will see change over time. It is not easy, because if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. But, when I tell you that I'm in the PT at, Proviso Township, and now I've become the senior, like all of a sudden, I was like the rookie, and now I've been there the longest out of 7 districts. Like, I'm the longest. And this year we have 4 new in Proviso and like 3 acting. So the change that those districts are going through.
Of the feeder, you're talking
Yeah,
about.
feeders meaning like, your Lindops, your Bellwood, all these, there is all this change, and it's tough. And now you add, like I said, when I talk about what's happening in the world, like it's change. It's too much for people. I lose their mind. So if we could provide consistency and knowing that you're going to get here.
Especially with your 3 principals.
Yeah, exactly.
So any other questions for Phil for his superintendent's report?
No.
Okay. And then administrative reports, always some really great information in there. I did have one question, not really directly related to administrative report, but is there any update on a plan for the WIS math specialist coverage?
Yes.
Okay.
So obviously we put the advertisement out right away. It is very difficult in the middle of the year or after the year to start to hire a teacher. We do have a paraprofessional who has a teaching license. The key thing is making sure that the kids that need supports, which is a part of what the math specialist was doing, was providing interventions, that those kids are seeing, because there's a group that person would have. So the key is making sure we get that. So Stephanie, myself, Sean, we are working on going to interview the person who is on staff that could move in, who has a teaching license, that can go into that position. We'd have to then fill her position as a paraprofessional, but also think about the other things that the math specialists do, and then try to, use our other math specialist or Sean or Stephanie. Am I missing anything, Steph?
I have a question about that. This person is, because a math specialist is not just,
They have to have a specialist degree.
Not for us,
Not for us.
not for math. We do it only for reading.
I don't know, I just have some concerns about that, because you really are supposed to be skilled in that particular field to be a math specialist, right?
In middle school, you gotta have you have to be a math, because you have to have the specialty
It's an endorsement, yeah.
endorsement.
Right.
Right, yeah.
But this is for what?
Try us.
So the issue is it's basically going to be vacant
Right.
if we don't, so we can hire someone who applies off the street, but
Yep.
in the middle of the year,
Right.
what are you going to get?
We have some teachers interested,
Okay.
but we didn't think Why, you want to explain?
Yeah, so there are teachers in the district, but we don't, you're talking now, we're September 30th, we're talking October 1st. So now you've already had 2 months of a teacher, like I said, you might love your kid's teacher, you know what I'm pulling them. How are you gonna feel? How are you gonna feel? How are you gonna feel? Like, so that to me, now you're disrupting the 20-something kids in that classroom and bringing someone new and they had routine. So we don't think that that's the best move. We're trying to make the best out of a difficult situation. So moving someone in there and then, like I said, making sure that the kids that the specialists would see because they're in an intervention because of whatever, the assessment, the map, whatever we had them on, we got to make sure they get that. The math specialist does do coaching and they do different types of supports around math instruction. We do have 2 other math specialists that if we had to lean on, we could. Sean is also, sharpening his tool, like to know how to support teachers in grade level meetings. It's not ideal, but like I said, the key thing is for us to make sure that we have the supports for the kids first and
For the
foremost.
intervention.
And yes, the interventions, and then we will work to get the.
Other.
And then next year, we go in knowing that that's our priority. So if I wanted to take teachers,
I would just be curious to see
I have
what
two
Gina.
concerns. One,
Yeah.
we typically don't chime in on your hiring.
right,
If you think that they're qualified, then
Yep.
we hired you to do
Yep.
that job, number
Yep.
one.
Thank you.
And number two, if they're not qualified, could they also serve as a math, like, support and not specialist? Like, could they, so not with the coaching role, but
For sure.
like they could be an additional math teacher
Yes,
that
exactly.
Yeah, that's what we have right now.
Yeah, there you go, math interventions
Yeah.
instead of math
Yeah.
specialists. So that's my other thought.
I guess I just, in my head, thinking math specialist is someone that, and I
It is a
understand
Right.
where we are.
Right.
And so I just be concerned about that person being in that role, and then wait if they like that role, but that are not necessarily the most
Yeah.
qualified.
Right.
How do we get them out that role next year?
Right. Well, the conversation
You know what I'm
is that
saying?
this is for now.
It's just 1 year.
Okay,
This is-
okay.
This is the conversation and they
Okay.
understand that.
Okay.
And, our response, the principal the principal makes decision and has the right to move,
Oh,
he or she can move the people wherever they feel. A
Right.
teacher may not want to do it, but
That's right.
And
That's
she
right.
knows that,
And who
right?
knows, the person may do a wonderful job in that
Right,
role, but I'm
right.
just was concerned about.
But it is this is a
Continuing
short term, this is yes.
Okay,
Well, it's great. I mean,
Yes.
like, what are the
what are the,
Right,
odds that you're going to
Right.
have a para who has their
Right.
teaching license?
Right.
Like, that was the really,
Right.
yeah.
an unusual
And I just,
find.
I have an opinion, I'll keep it to myself.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anything
I wanna
else
hear, like,
for the,
right.
anything else for the administrator report? All right. I'd like to make a motion for the board to retire into closed session to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, and litigation when an action against, affecting, or on behalf of a particular public body has been filed. In which case the basis for the finding shall be recorded and entered into the minutes of the closed session. And then for collective negotiating matters between the district and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees, in student disciplinary cases and matters related to individual students.
Oh,
Moved by Steph, for Stephanie,
Second.
second by Gina. I can find the sheet, so you got it? Oh, thank you. Damn, I do that every time. So that was Stephanie and then Gina. Roll call vote, please.
President Wazalowski,
Aye.
Vice President Boyd,
aye.
McPherson, Neal.
Aye.
Ortiz, aye. Sanchez,
Aye.
6 ayes, 0 nays, 1 absent.
Motion carries. We're at closed session at 7:41.